Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said he has ordered the military to seize the demilitarized buffer zones between Israel and Syria in a bid to defend villages in Israel's north. Simran, we're seeing that Israeli ground forces have overtly crossed into Syrian territory for the first time since the 1973 October war, passing the demilitarized border zones. So what's the latest that's coming in, Simran?
Sorry, if you can repeat the question once again, I have lost your connection.
Yeah. If you could hear me again, Simran, what I said was that Israeli ground forces have overtly crossed into Syrian territory for the first time since the 1973 October war, passing the demilitarized border zones. So what are the developments that are coming in now that Netanyahu has ordered his military to cross into the demilitarized zones and the buffer zones in Syria?
Well, in fact, rightly said, the development that's coming from Tel Aviv does, in fact, give a emphasis on Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's statement that puts the onus on that he has ordered the military to seize the demilitarization buffer zone between Israel and, in fact, Syria to defend the villages that have been massively impacted in Israel's north and warned the Syrians in the area to stay home for their safety. This is coming just a day after when we have seen, in fact, how this troops from Israeli side occupied Syria buffer zone in defensive step, and the move in the Golan Heights has come as Israel fears the rebel groups and the forces which were threatening the Assad regime could encroach on its border. The buffer zone was created by a 1974 agreement between Israel and Syria, and which Netanyahu had said, in fact, that this will be followed. But it remains to be seen at this point of time that the Syrian rebel forces are trying to breach the border size. The rebels have said that they had freed the capital Damascus from the President Bashar al-Assad following the lightning offensive. But at this point of time, it remains to be seen how the concerning developments, given the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's statement coming at this point of time, and there are videos also showing the extent of the kind of impeachment that's been done by the opposition and by the rebel forces in Syria have in fact resulted into the uprising and the chaos being unfolded on the borderline of the Damascus.
Simran, stay
Back
on
to
with
you.
us. We also have with us Sanjeev Srivastava. He's an international affairs expert joining us on the telecast. Sanjeev Srivastava, when it comes to the Israeli ground forces advancing beyond the demilitarized zone on the Israel-Syria border and marking their first overt entry into the Syrian territory since the 1973 October war. This comes amid a successful push by rebel groups in Syria to drive the President Assad out of power. How do you assess the situation that is currently taking place in Syria?
Well, I think Israeli defense forces they are taking proactive measures to protect the border areas of Golan Heights, and obviously Israel is keeping a very close watch on what has gone on in last a few days in Syria. Obviously, a big change has happened, and now the rebel forces they have taken over power, and Israel is concerned that these rebel forces might go ahead with their claim on Golan Heights. And that is why Israel is concerned, and that's why they have improved their various security arrangements, and because of which they have entered into the Syrian territory since 1973 for the first time. So I think these are proactive measures, and now we will have to see that what kind of a power structure is set up by rebels, because the rebels are also having different factions. STS is one, and the Syrian National Army is another. Free Syrian Army is other faction, and Kurdish forces are there. So I think this is the kind of a coalition of various rebel groups. But now, what kind of a governance
Sanjeev
structure?
Srivastava, also like to ask you this question that Israel has said that a 50-year-old disengagement agreement that was between the two countries had collapsed and Syrian forces have abandoned their positions. So when it comes to now that Benjamin Netanyahu has also directed IDF to seize the buffer zones, what are the changes that one can see between the relations between the two countries, Israel and Syria?
Well, I think that will certainly put the entire relationship, the entire stability into uncertainty, and certainly this entire buffer zone area, if now the IDF forces are reoccupying, so in that way they are going to be straining the relationship between the Syria and Israel, which was in a quite a stable phase for a very, very long time during the Assad's regime and Baath party's rule. I think that is going to change. And now, as I said, that what kind of approach these rebel groups, the new government in Syria, whichever form this government takes place, will adopt, based on which Israel will also take its own actions. So now things we
Sanjeev
will have to
Srivastava,
wait and
stay on
see.
with us. We have more developments coming in. Amid ongoing crisis in Syria, the Indian embassy has issued a statement stating that they are monitoring the situation in Syria. The embassy is in Damascus and is in touch with all the Indian national. Embassy further stated that it will remain available to assist them in crisis-hit nation. So, Sanjeev Srivastava, we're seeing that earlier a lot of embassies have been attacked by rebels in Syria amid the ongoing civil war. But now we're seeing the Indian embassy has also responded to this, and it's stated that embassy is in contact with the Indian community over there. So how do you assess the situation when it comes to the Indian diaspora there?
Well, I think India is also very keeping close watch, and our spokesperson in the Ministry of External Affairs, Ranjit Jaiswal, had said it and stated very clearly that we are very much in touch with about 90 Indians who are there in this Syrian territory, including those who are working in the various UN agencies. And I think India will take all proactive steps. You know, this new India, under the leadership of Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, we do not leave any of our citizens in trouble anywhere, any part of the world. And if they request for any help, India proactively takes a step to help them out. So I think Syria is no exception, and our embassy is very much close in touch with our Indian nationals. Also, our MEA has issued a statement saying that we would like to see that a Syrian-led peace process takes place, and governance system which emerges after this kind of a big change should be in such a way that all respected parties should be given a proper representation. So if that kind of governance system could emerge, having a close coordination with the various rebel groups, then that will be in the best interest of the Syrian people. Also, it will be in the best interest of the Middle East region and the world. And
All
that's
right,
what India has
Sanjeev
said.
Srivastava, unfortunately, we have run out of time. Thank you so much for joining us on the telecast.